Heather, so I've been asking people doing this limited series about GTM, AI, GTM orchestration, automation. I've been asking them the same first question because for me, I think it's instructive on how people get into something. So when you first started down the road of like, I could use AI to like, automate this and for myself, for my clients, like, were you trying to solve your own problem or were you trying to solve a problem someone was paying you to solve?
Yeah, so initially it was my problem. I left my company or my full-time job in 2023, went out on my own, and a lot of it was AI could help me do a lot of what I couldn't do on my own. And so it was trying to figure out how to be a business of one and use AI
Mm-hmm.
as kind of my companion. The more I used it, the more I went deep, the more I would listen to podcasts or talk to people. Um, I just started using it more and more. And then eventually so I'm still doing consulting, but now I've moved into actually having like a productized service that I sell. And that was largely came from a problem that my client solved. And I saw over and over again and found a way to use AI to solve it. Um, it was primarily onboarding. I've spent my career working with companies that have complex technical products. They're sales led. As a marketer, you don't come in with that background and you have to figure out a way to do it. I've spent my career trying to figure that out, getting the knowledge to people's heads. Going out as an agency, I wanted to be somebody that had a good onboarding process so that they didn't have to do the hand holding. I was able to get up to speed quickly and produce better quality results. So the
So
first,
you're talking about onboarding clients,
exactly.
not onboarding employees.
Yes, yes. Good clarification. Yeah, I was always frustrated working with agencies. They would just never really got our product or service.
Mm-hmm.
I needed somebody I could just hand stuff off to and do a final check, but we were lean teams. We needed to move quick. So when I started my own agency, that started with interviewing customers. More recently, I started interviewing the product experts at the company and was able to turn that into documentation that I could feed into AI. And I knew this was something that a lot of companies struggled with. And so, yeah, I mean, it's something I felt personally, it's something my clients face. So trying to like solve that with AI and help build that foundation to make everything else better.
All right. And now what's it like? Like what's the before and after for like a client these days or for you with a client?
Yeah, so one of the clients I'm working with, which is how this whole process kind of got documented, they have a flagship product with a ton of documentation, videos, whatever. But then they have these other products where they don't spend a lot of time on them. They didn't have as much documentation. And I was working with them on doing AI search. So we needed to do product copy. We need to train AI on the features and who's buying and what personas care about and all this stuff. And so and ended up scheduling a conversation with their product owner and created a questionnaire, did a deep dive, was able to create this documentation. So essentially like a very detailed product brief and personas. Using that along with the AI strategy brief that we built for that document. So what prompts do we want to rank for? What keywords do we want to show up for? How do we show up as being comprehensive on that topic? What needs to be on that page? We did all that upfront work, fed that into AI, and then we're able to create this like very detailed landing page I mean, obviously the work that went into it took longer, but the page itself was like less than an hour. And it was more than they ever had on the product itself. So it was really cool to see how like taking the time to build that foundation was able to make everything else better. And then how do we keep using that for everything else, like ad copy and everything else that we're doing as far as campaigns. So excited to see how that continues to evolve.
All right. So I got a question for you. We're going to pretend that I'm a CEO who is not going to admit to any of my folks that I haven't paid much attention to AI yet and I don't understand the language. And I'm not going to ask dumb questions to them, but instead I'll let Dean ask dumb questions, experts, and then pretend that I always knew the answers. I'm looking at you. So if I have never heard of an AI agent, as an example, like how would you explain it to me?
Yeah. So the best example that I heard is basically an agent has agency. So it's something that is autonomous. You give it a task and it goes out and does it and produces an outcome versus like a custom GPT where you have to prompt it, it gives you like an output. This is something that can like go out and do things for you. I think one of the quickest examples or easiest examples is think of like, lead comes in through your website. That's the trigger that gets it to start. It'll
Hmm.
go qualify that lead based on your, your ideal client profile. It'll go into research. It'll basically package it'll rank and score it, package everything up for your sales team, and then tell them when to follow up or not. I mean, you could go farther or shorter, but it's something that's doing the work autonomously. So you give it a task, give it some guardrails, it figures out the best approach. It's making decisions, it's thinking, and like delivering an output. So agents have agency, and not a
That's
lot
a
of
good
people are
line. I
actually.
haven't heard that one before.
I think one thing too, like to your point about feeling bad about asking stupid questions, I think that word agent gets thrown around a lot. I read some stat. I think only like 4% of people are actually building agents. They're just, so we're not that far behind. This is all really new. Um, so yeah.
No, that's good. Yeah. Have you ever seen that like filled in squares graph where all the
So yes.
here's everyone in the world. Here's everyone who's actually ever used or touched AI. Of that, here's the tiny percentage that have ever paid for it, and here's the like fraction of a thousandth of a percent of the people who've ever built anything with it.
Yep. The majority of
So
people, if they're using it at all, they're using it for chat or search. Um, the other thing too, like I think it's okay to be a little bit behind. It's not okay to ignore it and pretend it isn't happening. But for example, I heard the other day a lot of these labs are now building out their own agents. So, like, all these people that are building out their own, not to say any of that work is to waste, but like, fast forward 6, 12 months for now, you might be able to just turn it on and customize it for your company. So, everything is changing so fast, experiment and build, but at the same time, like, agents are still very new. So,
yeah, 6 months ago or even 9 months ago, it was a complete pain in the ass to like you'd have to use N8N and these workflows and all this like dumb stuff and right an AI engine you drop in them and then it became like way easier and now like every week or two one of the like big guys drops like yet another tool that just makes it super easy to spin one up and right and it's just like honestly there's something to be said for like waiting a little longer until it just becomes like super easy and way more bulletproof than it was, let's say 6 months ago.
yeah.
Although we're running out of runway for like never touching it.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between waiting and there's a difference between doing it and continuing to build on it and improve it. So like if you're building the foundation, if you're writing the prompt, sure, like 4 months from now, you may need to edit it or move it into a different tool. But like, for example, I was using ChatGPT primarily. A lot of people I heard you can get overwhelmed with all the tools out there. I liked the advice of like just start with one and get really good at it. So that was what I used all the time. And then, Claude blew up and I'm like, oh, what is this thing? And everything I learned in ChatGPT, I moved over to Claude. It wasn't that hard. And so there's waiting, but then there's also like, continuing to learn and build and see what's possible because that isn't going to go away.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm still that CEO and I'm still going to ask dumb questions. And so you're going to talk to me about, I know what go to market is, and I know what to some degree go to market automation is. I know like where data has to come into that system somehow, and we're going to try to identify who might be an interested prospect or lead and so on. It's about like and then AI is just AI on top of that, right? AI GTM orchestration. So like, well, what's my mental model for this? Like, how do I think about it so that I don't fall out into weeds? Because GTM orchestration or automation, like it uses a lot of the same words. Like it invented almost no new terms, right? It's everything's like there's a node and a graph and a waterfall and it just took words that meant other things and now uses them itself. And so it's easy to get distracted if you don't have a base for like what it is. So like, how would you describe it to someone? Or if you don't think that what's like the mental model I would need, like walk me through a day in the life of an AI GTM automation set. Like when does the first one wake up and what does it go read or something?
Yeah, I mean,
Either way.
and maybe I'm misunderstanding the question, but here's where my head's going with it. Fully automating your go to market right now is not something that's really happening. Like people may be talking about it on LinkedIn and maybe as like a one person company, maybe. I think right now it's more thinking about everything you're doing and trying to figure out what makes the most sense to use AI for versus humans. So, what are the problems that you need to solve? Um, Mapping out that workflow, rethinking that workflow, and then figuring out where AI and humans make sense in that new workflow and then building it. So it could be an agent that's automatically doing everything. Or what I've heard a lot of marketing teams doing, they're building what they call like teammates, which is essentially like a custom GPT. It's a very specific task, a very specific thing. So think like writing emails, or like if you think of a campaign, all the steps that go into that. Each of those would be a separate teammate that is focused on that. And then an agent is essentially chaining those together. So from start to finish, it's then going and doing it. So I like to think of it as like building on each other. And I think when you're building all of that, one thing that a lot of companies forget or skip past is the foundation piece. You need to train the AI on who your company is, what you do, what your brand is, what your company is, what's important, who your customers, all of that. Otherwise, you're just automating a bunch of crap. And it's, you need to have your data clean in your systems. You also need to train it on who you are and document that. A lot of companies, it lives in someone's head, and that doesn't work for AI. So anything you build on top of that is not necessarily going to be great. So I don't know if I exactly answered your question. Happy to
Well, let's go back to what you just said then about how clean the data is and stuff. Because no company wants to clean up its own data. Like someone wants it clean, but no one wants. It's like in the writing world, everyone wants to have written. No one likes to write. You like it when it's over with, but I don't like to sit down with a blank page and go. And so I've worked in sales engineering and sales, and for a bunch of companies. And CRMs are typically a mess, right? And what the salespeople use and their versioning and their decks and what they're saying to customers, it's a mess. Talk to me about how either I could use AI to help clean it up, or what I need to do before I start turning AI, spinning it up, and saying, "Here's our stuff. Just figure it out and go."
Yeah, there's a balance, and I think it also depends on the size of your company. Enterprise companies are going to have a much harder job, but they also have people dedicated to this and lots of tools to help with it. So, lucky for me, one thing I love about being on my own is I don't have a CRM to clean up. I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of money bringing people in, trying to clean up CRMs after acquisitions and stuff, and it's a mess. And I think there's a few different ways to approach it. One is for a while for my clients, I was building custom dashboards, and the most important things were you need to know what fields you're using and make sure those fields are accurate. So that's one piece. Everything doesn't need to be perfect. But the naming conventions and who needs to fill out what and what's most important, I think is there. The other piece, there's the cleaning piece, but there's also what's important to you and what do you need to measure and working back from that. So I could have found someone on Fiverr to build a dashboard for me, but the hardest part was knowing what my clients cared about, because every single company is different. And so once we knew what that was, it was actually in a PowerPoint. We were able to spin that up into an automation that would connect to the APIs and show everything they needed. So AI was great for something like that, right? And I think you can't let perfect get in the way of moving. There's always going to be salespeople that don't want to put their stuff in. That's just the reality. I think if you're going to be fully automating go to market, you have to be okay with some mistakes happening, and you just need to weigh the risk and benefits. Is it something that's going to be catastrophic if you send a customer something that says something that's for a new lead?
Yeah. Honestly, that could have happened with no AI in the picture anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of this is just forcing us to clean up our systems, document what's
Right.
in our head. It's still, the foundations all still matter. We're just able to move a little bit faster and rethink the workflows and automate some of it in a way that we couldn't. I think now that the hype is dying down a little bit, I think you're seeing that a little bit more and more real conversations about it. It's messy. Humans are going to be the ones slowing all this down. Yeah, CRMs are never going to be perfect. You just have to decide what you're willing to risk. And you don't have to automate everything. Pick what you're comfortable automating and start there and build from there.
Well, let's follow up on that then. Should you go after the thing with the biggest potential reward, or the worst pain, or the easiest win? Where to start?
Can I say both? I think
there's 3 of them, so no.
Okay, sorry. I heard the biggest win and the biggest pain, or quickest win and
Right.
biggest.
Biggest pain, biggest win, easy or easiest win. Basically, start small with a success and build on it.
All right. So I think it's a little bit of everything. And here's where I'm coming from. Essentially, you don't want to take too much on that you're going to get discouraged. But at the same time, if you're not solving a real pain, it's not going to outlast the initial excitement of like building this
Right. Yeah.
thing, right? And so I was talking to a company.
Attention and enthusiasm have a limited supply, and you have to decide where you're going to spend it, I guess.
Exactly. I think the other thing too, and like I saw this for myself personally, but I spent a lot of time on podcasts and groups talking about AI, and like you see all these really cool use cases, especially with things like Claude Code or Cowork or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see what's possible, but until you're actually like hands on keyboard doing it and you're like, oh crap, like really? That's when things start to open up. And so that's when I think like the small wins make sense. And so if it's something that's not a lot of time or energy and you think people are going to get excited, start there. But if you're putting time and energy into something, you want it to solve a real pain. Otherwise, like I said, yeah, people just won't use it. So,
All right. So then I'm the CEO. You've convinced me. I'm going to go after something with upside and spend my limited time and attention and interest on fixing a problem that, in my case, I think has a potential big upside. All right. So what do I do tomorrow?
I mean, I think one of the most important things is, I mean, you've probably heard of this whole like garbage in, garbage out thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to document what's in your head, what's in your subject matter expert's head. You need to train AI on what your product does, how it works, what your point of view is. Like I think one trap that we run into is thinking about AI in the sense of moving faster or being more productive. And while it can do those things, if you're just producing a lot of stuff, one, humans are not excited about that. Like I didn't I didn't join a company just to produce a lot of crap and feel, make myself feel good about it. Um, so I think we need to do what we can to make sure that the quality that we're producing isn't just faster, but also better. And so by taking the time to go back to the foundations, like again, like documenting what your company does, also thinking about what best practice means for you. So like, what does a good output look like? The more you can take the time to give that to AI in the beginning, the better the outputs are going to be overall. Like I started my new business, right? And I've spent the last, like, sure, I got up a website in like 2 days. That's really cool. But I've spent the last couple of weeks documenting my personas. What are the category entry points? Like, how do people find me? What do they care about? What's my value proposition for the different personas? I'm building all of that into a project. And so then anytime I'm like, oh, I want to do this, I just go into that project and it's so much faster. You need to take the time up front. It's this whole idea of slow down to speed up. It's always existed. AI is just making it more important because otherwise you just produce a bunch of crap and that's really going to hurt your brand. I think sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but back to the CEO piece, I think if you get too caught up in this like moving fast and productivity piece, you're kind of losing the plot a little bit. Like if you're a small company and only 40 people are seeing your stuff, it's okay to put something out there that you can fix later, right? But the bigger you get, this stuff can actually hurt your brand. And so you
Mm-hmm.
need to be thinking about what your customers need and building a better experience, like not just about moving faster and being more productive.
That makes sense. Okay. So, tell folks about what you're working on right now and the kind of customers you're doing it with. And then I have one more question after that.
Okay. So I started a company a few weeks ago based on things that I was doing for my consulting clients. I wanted to package it up. It's like a done for you service. Essentially, I am working with companies, mostly sales led, complex products and services, and I am packaging up their product information and their personas. I basically do one interview with their product expert and turn that into detailed documentation they can use for their teams as well as AI. And I'm selling that to B2B marketing leaders who just don't have the time to document what is in those experts' heads. I also think there's a use case for agencies to incorporate it into their onboarding process. I mean, how great would it be to like week one, you already have stuff versus like I mean, I've onboarded agencies. I've built like 90-page decks. Do you think everyone on the
Mm-hmm.
team is going through that? But like, I spend so much time putting it together. So anyway, the more AI knows what you do and you know what you know, everyone on the team knows what you do, the outputs are going to be better. So I helped companies document that. And yeah, one interview, it's done in 5 days. Yeah, it's called AI Context Kit. I should have said that. Sorry.
I was going to ask you.
Thanks.
And before I ask the last question, like, what's the easiest or best way to people contact you?
Yeah. I'm on LinkedIn a lot, for better or for worse. Kind of got to do it as a consultant.
Yeah.
So Heather Rolled. That's pretty much it. My website is aicontextkit.com.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. So besides the new company, like looking 6-12 months down the road in this field, what do you think's the next big exciting thing?
I think I have a lot going through my head. I think I'm trying not to look too far ahead because no one knows what's going to happen in 5 years. Like at the moment, I'm having a lot of fun, like embracing new ways of working, and automating all the crap that I don't want to do. Like it's as somebody who is a builder and wants to figure things out, like I'm having a lot of fun right now. There was a while there when it was kind of like doom a little bit, like it still is, but I feel like there's starting to be this pushback, and I'm hoping, like, I would be excited if we find better balance into like, how do we use AI to actually do things better and give us time back and build things that are cooler versus like this Terminator scenario, or I don't know. Like, I think there's so much hype coming from these AI labs, but people are starting to question, like, is it really there yet? Do we even want this? Do we want like my email writing emails to other AI, like my AI email writing emails? It's just like, what is this? And so I'm trying to focus on the present. But I'm also hopeful that as humans, we can kind of slow down a little bit and figure out what it is we actually want and build something that's kind of a win-win versus, tech just taking over. And I don't know, who knows? But yeah.
I'm blanking on the theory, but it basically comes down to the second law of thermodynamics from a theory that came out in like the 60s or 70s, applied to like artificial general intelligence and how it's like physically impossible. Like you would, like basically it would just produce so much heat that it's not possible to build a machine that can do that.
Well,
And
SpaceX.
you'd have to build it in space, and you'd have to wait like minimum tens of thousands of years. Even space isn't cold enough for a computer that could do that.
Yeah, I mean,
So
that's why they're going to put satellites on the moon, right? So you get the sun and you get the cold. But I mean, do we want a bunch of satellites on the moon? Like, I don't know. It's a weird time. Like, we're racing towards this place, and I think people are finally starting to slow down and be like, okay, what do we want? So I have hope that humans will get more involved in the conversation,
there we go.
help. Yeah, you have to be skeptical of everything these people are saying. Like, head of NVIDIA telling you like to token max and he makes money off of more tokens. Like,
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
I don't know. So it's great. I love AI. I built my business on it. You could pry it out of my hand, like screaming hands. But taking a step back and making sure that we're actually doing good things with it, I think is important. And yeah, I think it's really important.
All right, Heather, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for this. I really, enjoyed it. And I got good answers, which is really all I'm looking for. I'm looking to enjoy it and get good answers out of it.
Thanks, Steve. Love talking about
Yeah.
AI. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I love me too.
All right.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.